Perfect. So in the spirit of keeping up with time, I know that some other people are going to be coming as we go, but I would like to start right now. Let me spotlight myself to make it. Good morning, welcome all friends, new friends. I am Lola Vendana, Director at Multilanguages Corporation. I'm also a member of the Board of Directors of the Canadian Language Industry Association, CLIA, and the Ontario Council of Community Interpreting, OCCI, as well as the Advisory Committee of OCCI. I'm also a member of the ISO TC37. The reason I mention this is because I appreciate so much the work that the 10 speakers that are here with us today have been doing over the years. So, thank you first. And I'm going to do a couple of 3-5 minutes of housekeeping on how to make the most out of this event. We have 2 hours and a half together today, and we want to make sure that we take advantage of it. So some of them are tech and some of them are behavioral. So in the tech side, when one of our speakers shares screen, you go to the top right-hand side, select view, and select view side-by-side speaker. That way you have half the speaker and half the presentation, and you can even move it around and change the size to meet your needs. So that is important. Remember, this event is being recorded and is going to be posted on YouTube. That's something that was mentioned in the registration email, and you acknowledge by being here, this is going to be posted publicly. Please stay muted. We want only the speaker to be the one that is unmuted. That way we can listen to the speaker properly. And one of the topics that I love to talk about, I also do some consulting for my clients, is presence. Our presence is our power. And we want to make sure that we have that full presence these 2 hours and a half, that we eliminate the distractions. And who here has done multiple things and have been proud of being a multitasker? I am guilty of that. And we know for a fact that when we try to do that and have a webinar on the background, we don't take full advantage. I just encourage and invite you to take full advantage, because the 10 people that you have here today together is a very rare thing to have. These are the people at the forefront, the best advocates, the most knowledgeable people in the sector. And there could be one idea, one experience, something that could be click for you to improve your professional life, to improve it in your personal life. And what action are you going to take? So please be present. One of the tools to be present is to turn the camera on. I understand that sometimes we have tech issues, kids around, we are eating, we don't feel well, and it's perfectly fine if you need to have your camera off. But if you are committed at being present here and taking full advantage of the gift that these speakers are going to give us, please have your camera on. Also, stay, as I said, stay muted. How the morning is going to go, we have 2 hours and a half together. We are going to start with the panel. The 10 panelists are going to go one after the other. I'm going to ask a couple of questions in between, and then we'll have a section for Q&A from you. So we ask you to post your questions at that time, not from right now. At that time, if you can post it on the chat or raise your virtual hand. If I call you for a live question, please make sure that you are concise. You should be able to formulate your question in 30 seconds or less, right? So please be very concise. And the question should be not something that is only for you, like I had this particular challenge, but that the answer is going to benefit the larger group. If you have specific questions, after we are done with the Q&A, we are going to have a networking opportunity. In this networking opportunity, you will see breakout rooms, and you will be able to go to each of the 10 associations breakout rooms. And also there will be 3 social lounges where you can network with your colleagues, and then private rooms. In the private rooms, you will see if they are, open or not. Like when you click, if there are people there, you obviously go to another room. And that's in case you want to have one-on-one conversations with a colleague that you saw here and you haven't seen in years. Like I just, was telling the speakers, I haven't seen you in 10 years. So you can go to the private rooms to network. So when I was looking at this panel and I look at the names of the people I wanted to invite, I said, what is the title for this panel? And I thought, multiple voices, one mission. I see around the screen here these speakers, and an expansion of these speakers, all other members of board of directors of the professional associations and nonprofit that have been working in advancing the standards and advancing the profession and the sector, I see one mission. We are all in this together, and our unity is so essential for us to move forward and to look at challenges that are going on in the industry. So I would like to welcome our speakers, thank them for being here and for all the work they do, because again, it's beyond the knowledge that they have and the experience, but their love, their dedication for this profession that make them so special. So thank you for being here. And we are going to start with Gio Lester, who is one of those professionals who gives her whole heart to this profession. And she is from the Professional Association of Translators and Interpreters of Brazil. She is the past president and was very active. So Gio, welcome. And I'm going to be spotlighting you. Thank you. You are gone. Good to go.
Thank you, Lola, and the Multi-Languages team for bringing together such a great group of professionals and creating this opportunity for us. Nice to see so many people I haven't seen in so long. I'm Giovanna Lester. As Lola mentioned, I was president of the Brazilian Association of Translators and Interpreters, who represents both the spoken and sign language professionals. This year, we are celebrating 49 years of service to Brazilian language professionals. And we believe that it is part of our responsibility to create awareness and make all new knowledge available to our members. Yeah, right. We try. I promise you. In my lifetime, the first technology to have a huge impact on our profession was the internet. Translation memory coupled with the internet, its research capabilities, access to corpora, created chaos for professionals in countries with strong currencies because the work was being sent away to countries with weaker currencies. And then the market leveled itself out as it was supposed to do. And I believe the same thing will happen with the infatuation now that we have with AI, remote interpreting, GPT-3, GPT-4. It will level itself out. We must remember that it is not the tool that makes the profession. It is the professional who knows how to use the tools that make them powerful and the profession stronger. All of those technologies, yes, they're important. They are complementary to the work we do. And at Abrates, we have partnered with universities in Brazil that offer translation and interpreting programs. And our partnership is very hands-on. We give seminars, participate in classes. We actually operate a translation office in one of them. We offer consulting services to the students on translation technology. And translation technology is a strong part of any translation curriculum in Brazil. As for interpreters, well, our profession is a child of technology and ingenuity. Remote simultaneous interpreting shouldn't have been a surprise. It is, however, in its infancy, and there is still a lot of work to be done. I know Aik is going to be talking a lot about it, and I can't wait to hear what they have to say. Professional associations used to be the only means for us to learn about the marketplace and the industry side of our professions. Many professionals I know still look to their associations for information on what's going on in the marketplace through newsletters, position papers, and other publications. And that helps us understand best practice and the standards, the two very important pillars of our business side. And talking about standards, Abrates is involved in the adaptation and localization of ISO translation and interpreting standards for Brazil. Some material has already been published by the Brazilian Association of Technical Norms, the equivalent to the ASTM here in the United States, where I live. and they are under the numbers ABN, NBR, ISO 17100, and ISO 18841. We are still working on this because there are different levels of standards, so they are doing that work. And as past president, I'm just assisting with the translation when needed. As a professional association, we cater to translators and interpreters of spoken and sign languages, and will continue to push the boundaries of our professional curiosity and concerns. The idea is that we need to make sure we are up to date on new technologies and that we have the courage to educate ourselves to learn them so that we are ready to face our ever-changing present. In my home country, we have a saying, se correr o bicho pega, se ficar o bicho come, which illustrates to me the essence of our relationship with technology. It's a catch-22. You can't run away from it, and you can't just stay put. Humans are resilient and resourceful. We must adapt to remain relevant and adopt to thrive. So thank you, Lola, for this opportunity, and I look forward to listening now to my colleagues. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Gio. It's always a pleasure. And our next speaker is Linda Valentine. We talk about commitment to standards. Linda is so much to high standards. Thank you, Linda.
Thank you, Linda. Thank you, Lola, for organizing this event, and greetings to my fellow presenters and to all participants. It's truly a pleasure to be here. AIC, as an international association, was founded in 1953. After World War II, the number of international organizations grew, and so did the number of conference interpreters. The founders of AIC wanted a worldwide organization of both staff and freelance conference interpreters who would agree on professional standards, determine their working conditions, and abide by code of ethics. AIC's probably best known for its code of professional ethics, which establishes that members of AIC are bound to respect the confidentiality of all proceedings at which they interpret. The language classification system is still in use today throughout the profession, and it was devised early on by AIC, a distinction between active and passive languages in consecutive and simultaneous interpreting, the ABC language system. Today, AIC has over 3,000 members worldwide, grouped in 23 different regions, of which Canada is one. And AIC's fought memorable battles to obtain and defend safe and decent working conditions for conference interpreters the world over. It operates entirely on a volunteer basis with a small paid secretariat at our head office in Geneva, Switzerland. AIC Canada is two things. We're the Canada region of AIC, and we are the Canadian Association of Conference Interpreters. AIC Canada was founded in 1971, so now more than 50 years old. Our association is incorporated in Canada as a federal, not-for-profit corporation, and we're the only national professional association of conference interpreters in Canada. Our members are official languages and/or foreign languages interpreters spread across the country, but especially in the Ottawa, Montreal, Toronto triangle. And at this time, our staff interpreter members work at institutions such as the Translation Bureau of Canada, the United Nations International Civil Aviation Organization in Montreal, or the Legislative Assembly of Ontario. AIC Canada has a small volunteer leadership team of 3, and our activists work to advance the profession and to defend the practices that allow our profession to do high quality work. As a region, we are involved directly in the work of AIC International, but we also work on issues and challenges that are specific to Canada. For instance, with the pandemic, AIC Canada worked to assist interpreters to protect themselves in the workplace against the pandemic, and AIC Canada helped interpreters adapt to the fast-paced, pandemic-propelled transition to distance interpreting. Interpreters, institutions, language services providers around the world, including in Canada, benefited from AIC's distance interpreting guidelines on best practices during COVID-19. AIC Canada organized many educational events on distance interpreting that were open to all interpreters, as well as awareness-raising activities on health risks stemming from the new ways of working, especially in regard to interpreters' auditory health problems brought on by the new use of these technologies. AIC Canada is of the belief that new technologies, especially the compressed sound that interpreters work with when using cloud-based platforms, continues to be the biggest challenge for doing quality work and, most importantly, for doing it safely. In recent years, activists in AIC Canada has especially focused on translation bureau-related matters. AIC has a long tradition of collaboration with the Translation Bureau, going back to when interpretation was first introduced in Canada's Parliament in 1959. And ties between AIC Canada and the Translation Bureau have grown stronger, especially since the Official Languages Act was enacted in 1969, giving rise to a bigger marketplace for simultaneous interpretation services. Today, the Translation Bureau remains the biggest employer of conference interpreters in Canada, and it's therefore not surprising that AIC Canada has prioritized this area of work. And thanks to its 2014 to 2017 campaign, several years to safeguard quality interpretation at the Translation Bureau, and our success with doing away with the proposed lowest bid procurement system for recruiting freelancers, we succeeded in developing and instituting, in cooperation with the Bureau, a new open contract for the procurement of freelance interpretation services that recognizes our practices related to our profession and focuses on quality of services to client. Our association is currently working on the 5th edition of the Open Contract, which now must integrate provisions on working conditions for distance interpreting and making that new mode safe. We are currently working with the Translation Bureau on capacity building also. A recent AIC Canada survey revealed that in Canada, we're facing a mass retirement event that will wipe out a significant share of qualified freelancers, as many as 50% in the next 5 years. So with the increasing shortage of qualified conference interpreters, and this is a big problem, AIC Canada continues to focus its attention on leadership renewal, succession planning, so that our association can continue to be relevant, forward-looking, and continue to advance the profession. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Linda. That commitment is really commendable. Thank you for all you do. Now we have, how many of us love technology and sometimes are scared of technologies? So we are bringing up Jay Marciano from AMTA, and he'll be sharing about what AMTA does. Welcome, Jay.
Thank you very much, Lola. And greetings from Berlin. I think I saw one other person in the chat from Berlin, so it's nice to have somebody else in my time zone here. So good morning to everybody and good afternoon to the one colleague here in Germany. So my name is Jay Marciano, as you've heard. I'm the president of the Association for Machine Translation in the Americas, otherwise called AMTA or AMTA. We're a nonprofit organization founded in 1991, which might be hard for some people to believe. And we're one of 3 sister organizations. There is the IAMT, the International Association for Machine Translation, and then 3 regional organizations under that. The AMTA in the Americas, the European Association for Machine Translation, EAMT, and the Asian Association as well. And what we all do primarily is hold conferences that bring together all of the players in the use and the development and research around machine translation. So AMTA has a conference in every even-numbered year. Last September, we met in Orlando, Florida. We had a hybrid conference, live and online. And every 6 years, we host the MT Summit. The MT Summit is the conference that brings together all three of the organizations and attracts a much more international crowd. And so our goal is simply to support the development and the research concerning machine translation and to spread information about the use of machine translation as well. So membership basically is tied to attendance of our conference. And so when you attend the conference, you become a member and you then also have access to all of the content from all previous conferences as well, including the videos that we've started to take and preserve over the last 3 conferences that we've held. So attending AMTA and being a member is simply a really good way of staying abreast of the latest developments in machine translation technologies. And we've already heard both of the previous speakers have alluded to the increasing role of technology in our industry. And things are developing so quickly that at AMTA, we decided that we can't afford to wait out this year and have a conference first next time in the fall of 2024. So we're going to be doing a day-long mini conference this fall to regroup and talk about how things have changed in light of these new AI systems that are coming online. So, and things are changing so quickly, actually, that we're thinking of changing what AMTA stands for, because machine translation is quickly becoming part of these large language models, of these bigger technologies that can do more things. So automated translation is here to stay. Machine translation as a standalone technology might actually simply evaporate and become part of these larger systems. Won't really make a difference to the end user. It will still be available as automated translation. So that's basically all I have to say about the organization. We really encourage translators to come to our conferences. It's a great way to stay up to date on what's going on. I do a lot of outreach to the translation community directly because it's so important that translators and increasingly interpreters are aware of the role that these technologies will have in the day-to-day work of language professionals.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Jay. And technology is so upon us that we really have to look into that and be more proactive at joining the movement. Our next speaker is Sohaila Katami from APLI, the Association of Professional Language Interpreters in Canada. So Sohaila, here you go.
Thank you very much, Lola. I am sharing my screen. Does that look okay, Lola?
Yes, it's perfect. Thank you, Sohaila.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, thank you very much and welcome everybody. My name is Sohaila, as Lola mentioned. I am representing Association of Professional Language Interpreters, APLI. So I'd welcome you all. APLI is an association which was established by interpreters, and it is run by interpreters, and it's for the interest of interpreters and interpreters only. By way of background, and I will just change to the next. APLI was established in 2007 by literally a handful of interpreters. And when I say literally by a handful, there was only 5 or 6 of us to start up with. Now, we did celebrate our 10th year anniversary in 2017 with over 250 members. We are based here in Toronto, but however, we are registered federally. And we are still going strong, and we are hoping to be able to celebrate our 20th year anniversary with many more members. The intention for APLI was to provide a home-based platform for all interpreters. And interpreters is a general term, so we're not only addressing community interpreters, we have many, many members who are accredited by the Ministry of Attorney General, and many who are accredited by the Immigration and Refugee Board. Many of our interpreters, as the industry and the market requires, mostly here in, at least in Toronto, Ontario, that there are a lot of interpreters who not only do interpretation, but they do translation as well. So that combination is there. And at APLI, we basically keep the interests of interpreters at heart. And how do we do this? Because we are all interpreters ourselves. The board of directors are all interpreters, our members are all interpreters. We know the working condition of interpreters. We are familiar with their issues, their challenges, the benefits they have. Everything about interpretation we know inside out because we are interpreters ourselves. Of course, APLI does collaborate very closely with Ontario Council of Community Interpreting. And this is an organization that accredits interpreters as ACIs. So we have a number of our board members who are also on the board of OCCI, and that collaboration is very closely knitted. However, APLI does support all stakeholders in the industry, and a lot of them are also involved with OCCI as well. These include hospitals, representation from hospitals, privately owned agencies, the government-funded agencies. We have community colleges who are part of the industry, Ministry of Attorney General, Immigration Refugee Board, and also other associations in our province. Now, the big question is here, why does one need to join an association? And that's what we are encouraging here in Ontario, mainly, but all over Canada, in fact. First and foremost, I have to mention, we support all associations that are within this industry. We strongly believe that every interpreter should be a member of at least one association. And that must be a given. And the question is that now I'm sure in mind of many of the interpreters, why do I need that? Because if you are working as a professional, then you need to belong to that profession. And how do you belong? You become a member of that industry altogether. Of course, you keep abreast of the news and events by taking part in these events. You'll be in touch with the development of this industry. This is a fast-growing industry. If you compare the industry today with what it was 10, 15 years ago, it is a whole different world. So you keep in touch with that. The other advantage is that once you are a member of an association, it is a given that you have met certain required criteria to be able to do that, or specialization. So immediately your level of professionalism is there, established and done. And of course, if you're working as a business owner, that's how interpreters work. They own their own business. It is good for your business because all associations have got an extensive website, and your information and your contact information, your presence is out there. People looking for interpreters would be able to find your information and your contacts on those websites, as APLI has also. And it is definitely a way of marketing yourself. And my list is not extensive, but what you do bring into the profession is also very important. Once you are a member of an association, you take part in workshops and so on, and then you bring in your experience and your knowledge of the industry for the newcomers to the industry. So that's again at a point where not only you can take from associations, but you can give back to this industry. And of course, you constantly upgrade your professionalism by joining workshops. And that's what every professional who works within any industry needs to constantly upgrade himself or herself. How to become a member? At APLI, our website is www.aplicanada.org. Our website is going through a huge a reconstruction and a revamp at this time. It is live though, you can visit it, and there might be some changes until the end of March, and that will be done. On our website, you can see what the mission and vision is. You can read about us. You can even check out to see who the board members are, who our sponsors are. And there is more information about the list of community colleges who offer the LITP program. That's the training program for interpreters. If you just starting to explore and see how you can become a professional interpreter. There is also various options that interpreters have for accreditations and or certifications. Information is out there. And of course, then you click on Join Apply, and the information about the criteria of the requirements that you need to become a member of Apply is all there for you to read and check out. If you don't have all the criteria, there's options of how to obtain those. And then there is an online form that you can complete, send with your credentials, and hopefully you become a member of Apply. And as I always say, our members are pillars of this association. Thank you very much. I will be available to answer any questions in the general question time or in the breakout room. I know that a couple of other of our board members are in this session as well, and they'll be there as well. And it will be a pleasure to answer any questions that may come up. Thank you very much, Lola.
Thank you so much, Sohaila. And Sohaila does so many other things. She's also a member of the board of OCCI, and I've had the pleasure of working with her over the years since we started the OCCI. Thank you for all you do, Sohaila.
Thank
Our
you.
next speaker, if you can stop the screen share, Sohaila, that would be great. Our next speaker, thank you, is Pensi Sai from ATIO. Like we can see on the background, Pensi, thank you so much for being here. ATIO is our own association in Ontario, so welcome.
Hello, hi Laura. Thank you so much for the invite. And then also I would like to say thank you to multilingual language, for the invitation as well to host this event. And then as a matter of fact, I have to say, running an event like this is not an easy task. And then I cannot imagine how much effort that you have put in, because first of all, you have to invite all the guests. And then I just take a really quick look around of our guests today here. And I have to say that I am probably the youngest one. Like when I say youngest one, I'm not saying about age, I'm talking about the years of experience here in this industry. And then I'm also learning coming over here. I don't have much to say. I would say that because I'm learning from every single one of you. And then I have also seen the colleagues here, all my colleagues, because you guys are all interpreters, translators, and then also I've seen the board members here for ATIO, and then see some familiar faces. So thank you. And then I also would like to say that, because why are you here? Because you care about the industry. Because one of our board members would hate me to say translation or interpretation is an industry. No, it's a profession. So I would like to correct that. It's actually a profession. And I would like to say ATIO, you already know the name. Full name is Association of Translators and Interpreters of Ontario. And yes, this year it is actually our 100th years old birthday. And I am very, very lucky. I would say that because my passion, I really love this profession. So I joined ATIO, and then I'm the president for ATIO. And I would like to kind of do a little quick rundown about ATIO. So ATIO, when I say it's 100 years old, and I hope I'm gonna get to live that long. So, well, anyway. So ATIO was founded in 1920s, and so that makes us 100 years old today to this year. And also I would like to say about our mission. Our mission basically is to promote the language professions, and then also the value of a certification as a means to protect the general public, the public interest. And what the Sahela mentioned earlier, that the association, all kinds of different associations here, it's all different. And then APLI, for example, APLI, it's for interpreters and translators. And then for ATIO, is our general public. So our vision, we want to make sure, we want to ensure the language professionals are certified and then also are available to provide quality services in all languages throughout the Ontario. And then I kind of touch upon a little bit about our history. And so we would like to kind of all our objectives, that we have several of them, because all the members that we come together, and then why we're here together, because we love this profession. We have passion. We want to make sure what we do is getting better and better. And then also earlier I heard about, I learned that from other guest speakers that you guys were talking about machine translation, AI, all that. And then I do believe that this is actually a very, very hot topic, or maybe later on it's going to be brought up and also be discussed. But I would like to say, yes, it sounds like ATIO is going the most primitive way. Well, you know, Pansy, ATIO is already machine translation era. And, you know, why are you guys still going for the certification exams? And then I do understand here, some people may have some problems, some issues with exams. I myself, I'm not really particularly great when it comes to examinations. However, I would like to say it's that human element in this profession that cannot be changed, cannot be replaced by the machine translation. There's just absolutely no way, in my view. And therefore, my short answer to one of the big questions would be, are we going to be replaced down the road? No, no way. As long as we human being here, human flesh with a brain here, we're gonna be around. And then again, like, you know, I recall there is the advertisement talking about, you know, most of our communications, a lot of, I think 70% is nonverbal. And then as an interpreter, when we're doing the interpretation, a lot of time, you know, although when we are talking that, you know, all this kind of, you know, eyeballs, you know, movement, shoulder movement, and it can change a lot. And then, so that's something I really don't think, you know, machine translation will be able to replace us. No, that's, again, like I'm gonna say it, 9 in a million years. So another one, I will also kind of talk about why do we need to join an association? And I must echo what Sahela earlier mentioned. Well, you're in this profession, you're a professional interpreter, translator, terminologist, you know, all that, or maybe medical interpreter, conference interpreter, because you're in this profession, you have to join in us at least one association. Why? Because you hang out with the like-minded people, and you get to know, you get to complain about the problems in our profession. And then I also believe that one of the biggest problems that we are facing in this profession will be, we are not recognized by the, I would say, maybe government, general public, even among ourselves. That's, think about it. A lot of us professionals, sometimes we may say, well, you know, blah, 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 that and that and that and that association, so and so. No, because we are all together in this profession. And then I do believe one of the goals is to really, we have to stay united and then really make sure, you know, we are recognized and we were known, and we are known to a general public. We have to educate the general public about who we are, what we do, and then quality service that we provide. And then also, I would like to say, well, joining ATIO, once you pass the exam, okay, I want to say most primitive way, because we're testing your human ability to pass the exam. And then once you're certified, and then you will be granted to this title as a certified translator, certified interpreter, and you feel proud of it. Why? Because you put your effort into it. You did not rely on the machine translation. Otherwise, it will be called editing. So I think it seems like that will be open up a can of worms. But you know what? Just people don't attack me. But again, this is actually a very interesting topic, and I also believe it will be a very constructive discussion. And then also another one, the final take would be that why do we need to join an association? Any associations will need people to work. And then we are all volunteers. And then I have to say, everybody here is we all in the association, we're all working voluntarily. So please join and then contribute. And that's another reason to make this profession better. Right, Laura, that's it from me for ATIO. And anything you want to know about ATIO, atio.on.ca.
Thank you so much, Pansy. Even though you mentioned you have been the shortest time as president of an organization, your passion compensates for it, and that call for unity is so powerful. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next panelist is Michelle Scott from the California Healthcare Interpreting Association. I haven't seen Michelle in 10 years, but she's still here and very active. CHIA has been one of the very first organizations to create standards. I remember when we were creating the Canadian standards, we went to the CHIA standards to look for identified things in that code of ethics. So thank you for being here, Michelle. Welcome.
Thank you, Lola, for inviting CHIA to be a part of this panel. It's very exciting. And you are right. Same. I was going to actually mention the same thing, that, my own involvement personally with CHIA started a long time ago when I established my company back in 1997, and CHIA had just started in 1996. But when the California Standards of Practice came out, which included a code of ethics, that's what many of us, I was coming from Michigan at that time, and we were looking across the country to California for leadership and guidance in that, and in the profession, and this was, one of the two state level associations that had published something that was able to start guiding interpreters in that way. So just to say that, my first conference was in 2008 with CHIA. I joined the board in 2015. Since that time, I've been chair of the education committee, chair of the conference committee, vice president, and now president. So one of our past presidents is on this, has joined us for this meeting, Jose Garcia. So we are truly family. That is one of the things that I love about CHIA since the first conference that I went to. If you ever come to any of our conferences, you will feel the sense of community, the sense of true family. We really do. We get to know each other. We have, it's very much a group of like-minded individuals and professionals, and we have a lot of bonding that goes on. And we do also joke, if you do join the board, that it's like the song Hotel California. You can check out, but you can never leave, because we keep people active and engaged for a very, very long time. So CHIA was established in 1996. And in 2003, the name changed from California Healthcare Interpreter Association to California Healthcare Interpreting Association, to reflect the broader group of stakeholders with language access in healthcare, so that we are not only the interpreters representing this profession and language access, but we are also language agency owners. We're also language access managers in hospitals and healthcare organizations, and the general public that may be interested and involved in assuring language access. And I just realized that my cat unplugged my computer. Excuse me just a moment. I went down to 11% very quickly. So now we have 1,300 members with CHIA from California and across the United States. We have strived to keep our membership fees low. We have never increased our membership fee of $50 per year since the very beginning of CHIA. So I think we are probably one of the best values out there as far as professional membership goes. We do have 2,000 contacts, though, that we send regular information out to. We also stay connected. If we want to talk about technology, we can't forget social media. And so we stay connected with folks through Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, all the, we try to do the socials. I don't think we're on TikTok yet, but that might be coming soon because we have newer and newer members that are involved with different types of social media. We have free student membership for 1 year so that we're encouraging students that are looking toward healthcare and interpreting to get involved with professional associations as soon as they can. And then we hope that by bringing them in as students, that they will continue to stay on and stay active once they become professionals in the field. We have 17 board members. These include interpreters, interpreting educators, language agency owners, and language access managers from healthcare organizations. So again, just as our membership is representative, our board is also representative of the different language access stakeholders. One of the things, and I was going to try to share my screen, but I couldn't see the side by side. So I'm just going to ask you that if you go to chiaonline.org, you can see the CHIA standards, which were developed in 2003 and were, as Lola mentioned, and as I've alluded to, one of the first standards of practice and incorporated a code of ethics that was established in the US. And so that has continued to be a guiding document. It's available online for download. And that's mainly what I wanted to show you, that there's a free download of the CHIA standards in English and in Spanish. That became a bilingual or a translated document at a certain point when we started to recognize the importance and value of our indigenous language interpreters, many of whom were bilingual in, let's say, one of the Guatemalan languages and Spanish, but were not fluent in English. So we had that document translated. So I'll mention a little bit more later as far as our goals, and including indigenous interpreters would be one of them. We are a charitable organization where our official legal structure is as a 50c3, which is a charitable organization, meaning that we have limited ability as far as advocacy. So a lot of times there have been very recently, there have been a number of laws being passed in the state of California and in other states as far as freelance work goes. Those are the kinds of things that CHIA can write statements on and can state our position on, but we have a limited role as far as being able to advocate and lobby as an association. However, our main goal is education. So this year, for example, we're going to be having our 23rd annual conference. We've had as many as 500 attendees at our conferences. That was our highest attendance that we had prior to the lockdown, prior to COVID. We provide continuing education for interpreters who need recertification for one of the national certifications. There are 2 for spoken language interpreters and 1 for sign language. So we have the Certification Commission for Healthcare Interpreters, or CCHI, and the National Board of Certification for Medical Interpreters, which is NBCMI, as well as Registry of Interpreters for the Deaf. So we apply for continuing education credits for our conference from all of those organizations, CCHI, NBCMI, RID, as well as the American Translators Association. We have in the past offered SIMC credits as well, which is for folks who are doing legal interpreting. And in 2017, we established an online webinar series. So again, talking about technology, CHIA has embraced technology for a long time. So we almost 6 years ago started to do online webinars. We offered those monthly, and then we were uploading those to YouTube so that after the fact, there's still a free series of educational sessions that are available there. We were one of the last professional or associations to have a conference prior to lockdown in 2020, which was we feel like a little bit of a feather in our cap. So people from across the country, despite the fact that all of this was going on, were still very excited and very enthusiastic about making sure and attending and getting their education. The following year, of course, it was difficult for everybody to meet. We weren't sure how things were going to go. And once again, CHIA embraced technology and held a virtual conference. So now this is, like I said, this is going to be our 23rd year, our 23rd annual conference this year. We're going to be meeting in San Diego. I invite you all to join us, anybody who is interested to do so. Our goals, one of our goals has been to expand our geographic reach. Even though we are a state association, we really do look across the country, nationwide, to what the issues are facing healthcare interpreters and language access. So we invite presenters and attendees from across the country to join us. We have also, I mentioned the Indigenous language interpreters. In 2015, we had actually simultaneous interpreting happening so that we can include a group of Indigenous interpreters who were non-English speaking at our conference and welcome them in and have them provide the ability for them to be fully engaged with the English language sessions. The other two sectors that we have been trying to bring into the fold are medical legal interpreters. So where there is crossover, many of our members do provide legal interpreting as well in different ways, the medical legal. And so we've had full day tracks in our conference for those interpreters, and now also education interpreters in the ways in which the healthcare and the education overlap. And then lastly, just want to put out an invitation to all of the associations. In a while back, one of my goals was to start bringing an awareness to our members and our conference attendees to the other associations and to the other opportunities that there are for interpreting. And so we offer a complimentary reciprocal sponsorship type opportunity where we provide a table at our conference for other associations that want to put up information. There's no attendance required. If you just send us your brochures and your cards and all of any information that you have, we will put that all out on a table so that our interpreters can learn about your associations and, like I say, other opportunities for interpreting and expanding their knowledge base and their opportunities for professional growth. Happy to answer more questions, and you can reach me at info@chiaonline.org by email. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Michelle. I love that initiative of getting the organizations together and collaborating. I am a big advocate for collaboration and unity. And our next speaker, Alan Melby. Alan, it's such a privilege to have you here, and it was for me an honor to write a small book back in 2012 with Alan. So we were communicating on a daily basis for probably over a year, and this gentleman, has so much passion and commitment to the translation industry like no other one. So Alan, welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you very much for inviting me. I'm really enjoying these presentations, getting to know some of these associations. FIT is the International Federation of Translators, and we attempt to be the voice of translators, terminologists, and interpreters worldwide. Our members are of two types. A T&I association, most of our members are T&I associations, such as many of those who are represented here. Who are mostly at a national or regional level. And then the other kind of member we have is an educational institution that is involved in educating the next generation of translators, terminologists, and interpreters. And here I'd like to announce that we're holding a conference this October in Monterey, targeted not primarily at the translators terminologists and interpreters, but those who are educating the next generation. So go back to wherever you went to school or wherever your colleagues are studying and encourage them to come here. So I'm going to actually put a few URLs in the chat at this point. So the first one is the Global Association, FIT, and that one is, here's the website for FIT. We call it FIT Mundus. And then the second one is the website for the FIT North America Regional Center. And I am the new chair of this, just a few months ago, elected chair of this regional association. It's no accident that it looks similar to the global website because we are not a separate legal entity. We're a regional center of FIT. And then the third one is ATA. So ATA is one of the members and it's my home association. So that's why I can single that one out without worrying about somebody saying, well, why didn't you single out another one? Because that one is actually the one that I belong to, and I am sponsored by them. So you're welcome to take a look at those three websites later on. Would really like to invite those of you representing TNI associations who are not yet members of FIT to join and be glad to talk with you about the benefits of membership. We have one global event every 3 years, except when there's a pandemic, every 3 years for all translators, terminologists, and interpreters worldwide. And the next one is coming up in Costa Rica in July 2025. So what is our mission? Our mission is VCP. Visibility, community, and progress. Visibility of translators, terminologists, and interpreters as professionals, as has been mentioned by some of my colleagues here. Community, to build a worldwide and improve the worldwide sense of community of us as professionals. And progress is what we've all talked about, keeping up with the times, embracing technology so that it's a tool. And with that, I'll pass it on to others and be glad to answer questions in the next round. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Alan. That's wonderful. Those three important pieces, right? Building that community is essential for us. Our next speaker is Eric Kendall, who I know from many years ago when I used to be for 6 years in the board of the IMIA, one of the most active organizations in the interpreting sector who have done transformation as well, one of the very first code of ethics and who became international. So Eric, welcome to the panel.
Thank you, Lola. Thank you for convening our panel, and greetings from New York. And I normally start by suggesting what is the market for our services. We are International Medical Interpreters Association. So to my student, I normally suggest again that out of the population of about 340 million people in the United States, 65 million people, think about it, 65 million people are limited English proficient. It's over 20%, and each and every one of them potentially are a client. In New York City alone, and I represent New York chapter as well within the organization, out of 8 million, 4 million are limited English proficient, 4 million. 2 million, by the way, are Spanish speakers. So that's why market is there, and we need professional medical interpreters to meet the requirements of the market. So the slogan that we use, from bilingual to professional. So it's no longer the demand for bilingual individuals who simply claim that they speak 2 languages. We strongly suggest today that professionalization of medical interpreting is the #1 issue in our profession. So cross-cultural communication, interpreting skills understanding of cultures, and patient-provider relationship in different countries is very important. We are an international organization. It's a mission of the IMIA, committed to the advancement of professional medical interpreters as the best practice of meaningful language access to healthcare for linguistically diverse patients. Here is our vision: define educational requirements and qualifications for medical interpreters, promote establishment of professional interpreting and translation services by medical institutions, act as a clearinghouse for the collection and dissemination of information, and promote research on the issues of cross-cultural communication in healthcare settings. So our background is as following. So we were founded in 1986, and in 1987 already published the first draft of the Code of Ethics, and a bit later Standards of Practice. So we have over 2,000 members providing medical interpreting services in 70 languages. It's the oldest and the largest medical interpreters association in the country. But membership is open to everybody who is interested in medical interpreting and language access for LEP patients. Policymakers, healthcare administrators are also welcome to join us. Here are the objectives: publish and promote periodicals, bulletins, glossaries, dictionaries, hold conferences, symposia, stakeholder meetings, advance the national certification process for medical interpreters, maintain membership in professional organizations, work actively with universities, foundations, other organizations involved in medical interpreting and language access, meaningful language access to healthcare services, government agency, professional associations. Here are the membership benefits: discounted registration to all medical interpreting events and initiatives, lifelong learning webinars. We're very proud of these webinars, offering this webinar series, offering continuing education units for recertification. We're now in the second or the third round of recertification after the national certification was established in October 2009. Well, you probably remember the event when we announced so that we now have national certification for medical interpreters. Opportunity for professional development with leadership position in the IMIA. By the way, all the webinars that we suggest are recorded, and all our members can listen to them at any time of their convenience. Participation in the IMIA networking activities at the state and international level. In a minute, I'm going to give you an example of two projects we worked at the state level in New York, at the international level in Japan and Poland. Employment opportunities through IMIA job announcement and participation in Find the Interpreter listing. Use of medical terminology database that we developed within the IMIA. Access to the new training programs in the field, and profile inclusion into the medical interpreting registry. National certification, extremely important point of a professionalization of medical interpreting. There, as you probably know, so most of you would know that there are two nationally approved certifying bodies. It's CCHI and NBCMI. The IMIA partners with NBCMI by approving continuing education units for recertification in Spanish, Russian, Korean, Vietnamese, Cantonese, and Mandarin. And the new development, a year ago, we started working on hub CMIs, which provides a certification process for all other languages outside the 6 languages that we worked on before that. So here is continuing education program, promotes professional development of medical interpreters, identifies high quality continuing education opportunities, provides CMIs and hub CMI with opportunities to meet recertification requirements, provides a listing of continuing education units approved webinars, activities eligible for continuing education units. We have interpreter registries. The listing is available to the public and anyone seeking an IMIA member or a medical interpreter. The directory can be searched by language, state, country, certification status, trainer, or by the member's last name. All the individuals who appear in the listing are IMIA members and therefore abide by the IMIA Code of Ethics. So chapter structure, United States chapters. We have chapters in 22 states. And I would like to send an open invitation to everybody who would like to become a part of our chapter infrastructure to join us. It's all available on our website, which is imiaweb.org. And we would welcome you, and we'll start immediate conversation of accepting you potentially as our chapter members and chapter chairs within the United States. I'll give you one example. We work with multiple organizations in New York because we try to provide services for the entire continuity of medical professional services. Here is an example. We started working with the pharmacists because imagine if you are a limited English proficient patient, how do you work with the pharmacist? How do you communicate with the pharmacist? What about the vials? What about the labels on your bottles? And we managed to adopt in 2012, by now 10 years ago, Safe RX Pharmacy Act. Today, and New York is one of very few states in the United States with the same provisions. Number one, you can easily communicate now with the pharmacist in your language because of video remote and over the phone interpreting services. Vials and the bottles are now published, printed in the languages of the patient. It's extremely important because limited English proficient patients have extremely high level of readmission. One of the reasons they unfortunately don't know how to apply medications in the proper way suggested by the doctor. So again, Safe RX Pharmacy Act. So if you want to see it, it's easily available online. International chapter. The IMIA is committed to expanding internationally and encouraging potential members to join associations from all over the world. Example, Poland, they approach us suggesting that now when they accepted 3 million refugees from the neighboring Ukraine, so the matter of medical interpreting is extremely important. We started working with them on developing an infrastructure of medical interpreting in a new country. The same approach was implemented in Japan. Thank you very much. I would be more than happy to answer your questions. And again, my personal information is ekandel@imiaweb.org. Thank you again, Lola, for convening this panel.
Thank you so much, Eric. IMIA has been doing over the years such an incredible amount of work to advance the profession. Thank you. And our next speaker, another champion in the industry, Janice Palma from Najit. So Janice, welcome.
Thank you so much, Lola. I am really honored to be here and to be sharing this panel with so many great colleagues. I'm taking notes as I listen to everybody. And I was going to start by talking about the Najit mission, but it's on the website, and there's actually something on that website that I like a little better than the mission statement, even though I was involved in writing it. But I like this better. It says on the page about us for Najit, says the National Association of Judiciary Interpreters and Translators promotes the highest professional standards in interpreting and translation. Professional interpreting is required to ensure due process, equal protection, and equal access to the administration of justice for non-English speaking or limited English proficient individuals. I'm going to come back to this in a little bit. Judiciary interpreters work in court settings, but also out of court when the proceedings may have legal consequences. And for example, professional legal interpreters are required for accurate interpretation during depositions, administrative hearings, or attorney-client interviews. Professional legal interpreters are also used in law enforcement investigations or in the review, transcription, and translation of recorded evidence. And to that, I'm going to add translating legal documents, of course. Now, I'm going to break that down a little bit because there is something that I see, and I think it's happening all over the place, not just in the United States where I am. I think it's also happening in Canada from the comments that I've seen. There's this sort of awakening among interpreters all over the US. And there seems to be like a deeper awareness of the critical role that we play in the administration of justice, but we're not exactly sure how to articulate that knowledge and transform it into concrete actions that favor the protection and those who practice it. Here's one voice from New Mexico. Court interpreters in New Mexico have been fighting for many years to get reasonable pay, fair contract conditions, adherence to standards, etc. Our volunteers have spent countless hours documenting and explaining the issues and making our case for needed changes politely, sometimes forcefully, and have been met with basically a pat on the head from the administrative office of the courts. They petitioned the New Mexico Supreme Court and were told to go back to the administrative office, which is the one that patted them on the head. And they have spoken to judges, attorneys, legislators who are supportive, but they allegedly don't know how to take concrete steps to help them. And then from Washington, the state of Washington, a group of interpreters in King County, Washington, have achieved success on most of the things they were asking for at the county courts level, but not everything. And then in Massachusetts, per diem court interpreters mobilized to carry out a walkout. And they managed to get a lot of media attention. You may have heard about the Massachusetts interpreters. But then when they finally met with the trial court's administrator, they were presented with an offer that just wasn't what they wanted, but they didn't know how to counteract it. They ended up accepting it and giving up on all their other demands. And now they have learned that there is a budgetary request to hire 50 additional staff interpreters for fiscal year 2024. That's next October. And while some might say, I am seeking work elsewhere, there's others who say, lots of us would prefer to have the security and benefits of a full-time job. Unfortunately, it looks like focusing on the job and the pay is not very helpful. The way that many of these groups are engaging with government entities just doesn't seem to be the right way. And that's probably because anytime you go ask a government agency for money, their knee-jerk reaction is going to be no, because they're essentially the trustees of the taxpayers' money. But if you focus first and foremost on the role interpreters play and the importance of having competent, certified interpreters to assist the court in the administration of justice and their duty to protect LEP individuals' due process rights, then you change the conversation. Then the issue is not money, it is justice. And you, the interpreter, are the only one who can help the courts comply with that constitutional mandate when litigants and defendants are limited English proficient. And that's the game changer. Now I'm going to go back to the NAJIT webpage where it says professional interpreting is required to ensure due process, equal protection, and equal access to the administration of justice for non-English speaking or limited English proficient individuals. In other words, the courts need you, not the other way around. If you want to approach the court administrators, the judges, the legislators, the justices of the Supreme Court, the governor, or anyone else in a position of power to make substantive changes in your professional work environment, then you need to have a mindset of empowerment. If you don't feel empowered enough to say, you need me more than I need you, then you probably need to strengthen your knowledge base and your professional skills. So go out and take courses in areas where you may feel weak or read on your own. I do a lot of reading on my own and learn a lot that way. Form practice groups where you not only help each other be better, but you also reinforce the idea that you are special, that you are a critical and vital member of the legal community, and that you are a necessary agent of justice. Not a tool, not a telephone line, not an instrument, all those metaphors that make you totally replaceable and dispensable. You're an agent. You have a mind that is constantly processing information so people can understand each other. You have a mind that is making hundreds of lexical and semantic and pragmatic decisions every second to help the judge protect the record, to help attorneys present their evidence clearly and unequivocally, none of which they could do without you. If there is a witness, a litigant, a defendant who does not speak the language of the court. This is your power. This is our power. And I honestly believe that the time for a paradigm change, a paradigm shift is right here, right in front of us. And it is our individual and collective responsibility to seize it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Janice. I love that empowerment, mentality is what we need to be empowered and not having that, I'm the victim of the situation, but I have something that I can do here. And that's something that all of these speakers and all this association has in common. We need to move forward together. And last but not absolutely not least, we have our last speaker from Otiac, from Quebec, Donald. Let me ask to turn on the camera. Yes, Donald, I have the privilege of sharing so many organizations and meetings with Donald, creating the CGSB back in 2008 and then ALIA board. So thank you for being here, Donald.
Well, thank you for the invitation, Lola, and thank you for everyone to be here today. I'll share my screen with a small presentation, and I'll close with something right in line with what Janice just spoke about. So do you all see it? Yeah. So I'll talk about the Quebec professional system. In Canada, pursuant to the Constitution, professional law, i.e. the law that's governing all regulated professions, falls under provincial jurisdiction. So that's why we have 10 professional systems, because there are 10 provinces in Canada, 10 professional different systems throughout the country. But pursuant to the Canadian Free Trade Agreement, professional titles are transferable from one province to another under certain conditions. In Quebec, it is highly regulated professional law. There is a government minister responsible for professional orders. There is the Quebec Professions Office, which regulates all professional orders. And on the side, you have the Quebec Interprofessional Council, which advises the government on professional issues. I happen to be the vice president of this council. There are 46 professional orders regulating 55 professions in Quebec. Otiac is regulating 3: translators, interpreters, and terminologists. There are 2 types of professional orders. 25 of the 46 have a mandatory certification, i.e. exclusive right of practice, like, for example, engineers, lawyers, doctors, CPAs, and 21 with optional certification, for example, dental hygienists, social workers, psychologists, and TTIs. All are governed by the Quebec Professional Code, which is one law. And under this law, the mission of all professional orders, including Otiac, of course, is to ensure the protection of the public. And to do this, orders must, in particular, supervise the practice of the profession by their members. How do they do this? By protecting the public from severe, irreparable, or hardly repairable prejudice, physical, moral, financial, material, or legal prejudice. Professional orders have legal obligations to set admission criteria, manage a code of ethics, to set professional standards of practice, to do mandatory professional inspections. So we have to go and meet professionals in their workplace and inspect how they do their work. We have to do discipline, continuous training, and we have to provide liability insurance. Otiac has requested reserved activities, translation or certification of translation of 3 types of documents. The first one, we call them regulated documents, i.e. the documents that only members of other regulated professions can produce. For example, only psychiatrists can produce psychiatric reports. Should this report needed to be translated, it should be translated by a certified translator. Official documents, which means documents that government institutions rely upon to make decisions or with which they render decisions. For example, judgment by courts. And other prejudicial documents, for example, instructions for medications, the use of medications, for the use of dangerous goods, like, for example, a chainsaw, or for restricted products like pesticides, for example. And I'd like to close this by, to go back to Janice's presentation, some challenges for the translation profession. It is regulated about nowhere in the world, the translation profession. And in the eyes of the public, the professional status of translators is low, one notch above secretaries. And in fact, the translation market resembles the used car market before being regulated. And that's the market we have to operate in. And it is, I think, very, very important that we try and solve these challenges, that we face these challenges. And you will notice that I haven't put there machine translation as a challenge. Machine translation is a tool, helpful tool for us. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Ronald, for those distinctions. And now and thank you all the speakers, like, as I said at the beginning, yes, multiple voices, you can see the one mission, the one commitment, standards, quality, professionalization, community, visibility, getting together, working together. This you can see across these 10 associations. And I will go beyond not only these 10, because there are multiple other associations out there in the world that also are committed to this. So I'm going to bring all the speakers to if you give me 1 second, for the next 10 minutes or so, because we want to keep up with an agenda that we have. I'm going to ask some questions to some of the speakers, and then we will open for questions from the floor. So if you give me a couple of seconds to be able to spotlight all the speakers. That way, 2, 4, 6, I'm missing. Oh, Michelle. And 1 second. Who else I don't have spotlighted yet? So Hela, what are you? Oh. So Hela, I'm missing Sohela. Oh, here you are. Oh, I cannot add a spotlight for some reason for Sohela. And Linda, where is Linda? Okay, I guess I have a maximum. So what I'll do is I'm going to leave the person who is going to be answering the question spotlighted. So I'm going to start with a question for Jay. And Jay, what would you recommend? What is your recommendation you will give professional who may be scared with the accelerated changes in the sector? You are an expert on technology. So if you can help us to understand that, and I'm going to remove PN from the rest.
So I think one thing everyone here is already doing what I would recommend, and that is connect with other people and keep on learning. So that's a fundamental thing that I would always recommend. But when it comes to the very rapid change right now in technology, and this is beyond just machine translation, this is in all aspects of of our lives. We're seeing these AI systems coming online now, is that you basically have to make a choice. And that choice is, am I going to embrace or am I going to try to deflect? And I think a translator who has established custom move forward the way they've always worked will likely be able to do so for some amount of time, but it won't be a growth industry. I think it's very important to note that the real growth that we're seeing in translation is in all these new kinds of content that are being created that are screaming out for a technological solution, because nobody wants to sit there translating Amazon book reviews or what have you. The types of content that's being created in untold masses of words these days. So I would say keep learning. Everybody, be happy you're not a truck driver, be happy you're not a pilot, be happy you're not part of any one of these jobs that will likely be going away. And consider yourself a language professional as opposed to a translator or an interpreter. And the reason I say that is because all of our jobs will be changing. They will be changing because of increased use of technology. And a translator will be spending less of their time translating and more of their time doing things around with the technology that will help to improve the technology. Somebody with language skills and with an appreciation for the technology has a very bright future, but it will require learning and flexibility and the willingness to embrace these technologies and to change your work with them.
Thank you so much, Jay. And embracing technology is so important. In my conference pre-COVID that it was in person, I remember having in one of the welcome images a picture that says innovate or die, because we really have to keep on. And I love what Donald said is these are tools for us to use, not to be scared of. So absolutely. Thank you, Jay. And Gio, I have a quick question for you. How do you see the impact of new technologies in the language sector, just to follow with what Jay was saying? You're muted, Gio.
Yes, I live muted. Language technologies are important tools, just like Jay mentioned, for us all to embrace. We need to. I remember starting with pencil and a pad. That was my technology then. My technology now, if you come into my office, you're gonna go bananas. I have 4 monitors, I have microphones, 3 of them. So this is the practical part of it. But when you talk about the technology that helps me deliver the type of service that my clients need from me, it is always coming, new stuff coming on to us that we need to learn. Do we have to master? I don't believe we need to master every one of them. We need to pick which ones we want to work with, but we should be familiar with all of them. It is necessary. It's a demand from our career. We used bicycles, we used cars, and cars now are how many? 300 horsepower under the hood. You need to understand that. Same thing with the work we do as translators and interpreters. So technology is going to be a huge change, huge impact on the work we do. And it's our responsibility in order to continue meeting the requirements of the market, the requirements of our clients, for us to stay abreast of what's happening, what's coming towards us.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Gio. And we need to know where we are and where we want to go. A question for Linda. Linda, if you can unmute yourself. And AIC has been an organization with so much history and so much, and I listen in an echo with association as AIC can stay relevant in the future.
Thank you, Lola, for that question. Yes, AIC International is celebrating its 70th year this year, and AIC Canada 52 years. So we are both at the international level and here in Canada, associations that appear to have evolved with the changing profession. The profession of conference interpreting will continue to change, and it's always been very much guided by technological changes. the founders of AIC International were of the generation of the consecutive interpreters, and the World War II, the Nuremberg trials paved the way to using new technologies for conferencing interpreters, and we've remained for conference interpreters, an association that was at the vanguard of adapting to change. And with the change now to new technologies that allow for distance interpreting, AIC is providing also a great deal of support to its members. I think that for associations to be relevant, they need to be very mindful of their members' needs and concerns. And associations have to be constantly surveying and being on top of what is top of mind for members. And Canada in the last decade has done this kind of process 3 times. And later this spring, we'll be doing it for a 4th time to try to truly understand what the topmost concerns are for our interpreters. So it's a 2-way street. Leadership needs to be in touch with the grassroots. Grassroots needs to, give feedback to leadership in our association, be it international or at the regional level. We depend entirely on our volunteer participation in our association. So everything we do depends 100% on us. So that is also very important for everyone to understand. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Linda. Keeping that engagement is critical. Right. So a question for Alan. Alan, can you unmute yourself? If you don't mind, you have been involved for so long with MT and AI way before we even were aware of it. Do you think that AI will change the overall face of the language professions, and how?
Well, for sure. It is already changing the language professions. I would suggest that we need to keep in mind that even as the pie gets bigger, and the pie is all the material that needs to be translated on a given day. That pie is getting bigger and bigger. And even though the percentage that is usefully translated as raw machine translation is getting bigger, that slice that is appropriate for language professionals, in particular, those of us who still do work which is called translation, and I think that will be around for a long time, that little slice is too much for all the professionals in the world. So we need to be delighted that we're not expected to do all the translation in the world. We would be spread very much too thin. So the change, maybe the pie gets bigger, maybe the size of our slice gets smaller, but our responsibilities increase and the work should actually become more exciting. There we go.
Perfect. Thank you, Alan. And I'm going to bring Jay up right now as well. I'm going to start asking some of the questions from the chat that I've been copying into a document. And there are 2 on technology that the 2 of you, Alan or Jay, may want to take on. One of them, Helen Kaluski, is asking, what is the difference between machine translation and automated translation?
So let me jump in there because I used both of those terms in my presentation. And my intent was to distinguish between the standalone technology, which has been around since the 1950s, called machine translation, and then the functionality of it, which is to provide a computer-generated or an automated translation. And so most people wouldn't distinguish between the 2. I use them during the talk to try to make that distinction. However, I would consider automated translation simply to be an umbrella term there. It's not really a standard term. So don't worry about that distinction terribly much.
Thank you so much, Jay. We have a question here for Otiak. Donal, if you can unmute yourself. This is from Bing, and it says, question for Otiak. It is mentioned that Otiak has requested exclusive translation of regulated documents and other documents. Has this request been granted? And if so, can you share more details, please?
The request hasn't been granted yet. We're still in discussion with the Quebec government on this. And it's not all types of documents, 3 types. Regulated documents that can only be produced by engineers, doctors, lawyers, psychologists, other members of regulated professions. Official documents, documents on which government based itself to make decision or to render decisions, and other dangerous documents. So we're still in discussion with the government on this.
Okay, thank you so much, Donal. Another question for Jay from Haja Alras. Jay, can you talk about ChatGPT? So exciting for ChatGPT, what is going on, right? Can you talk about that?
So ChatGPT can talk about itself, right? So ChatGPT is based on a technology called large language models, and I spoke about them a little bit while I was speaking as well. Basically, what we're really talking about here is a neural network that is very, very good at predicting what the expected next word is. And that's what they really do at the base of them all. But the thing that's so surprising and what's causing a lot of the reaction right now is that these large language models are trained on massive amounts of data, but they're not trained to do a particular task. Okay, up to this time, we've created a particular task. And what we're doing with large language models is that we're providing education to these models, so giving them data to learn from, but saying, I'm not going to tell you what you need to do with this data yet. And the way I like to describe it to people is, imagine you had a room with a big pile of Lego building blocks in it, and you brought a child into that room and you left them there for an hour, and they had never seen a Lego block before in their life. That child would sit down and would start putting those things together, would realize that there's a system, that there's a way that these things fit together. And then if you went in an hour or two later and said, could you build me a house? The child would say, yeah, no problem, and would build you a house out of the Legos. And so what we're seeing with these large language models is that the actual task comes by asking it to do something. And that's the substantial difference between ChatGPT and the underlying models behind it, is that you have massive amounts of data without a specific task, and then you basically train it to do a task by asking it to do a task. So it's kind of the artificial intelligence equivalent of learning on the job. You ask it to do something and it does it, and it will get better the more times you ask it to do that thing. And yes, it's scary.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jay. And I think we really need to keep what we have been saying. We need to keep up to date and check what is going on with ChatGPT and how we can use it as a tool to support us. Is not going to replace us. Okay, we have for the other speakers, if you see, jump in, please. If you have an answer to any of the questions that are being posted on the chat, just unmute yourself. And I'm going to go through the list here. Give me 1 second. There is a couple of questions for any of the speakers who can answer. What marketing strategies do you recommend for getting started as a translation agency? Any of the speakers who would like to take that on?
Can I jump in here, Lola?
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. This is one of the topics that I have always talked about. And I think any of the current agencies or those who want to come into the market, I think in order to make this profession what it is and what it should, the value that it should be given, I think it needs work from all sectors of this industry. And of course, one of the very important sectors of this industries are the agencies. So my challenge has always been to convince the agencies who are coming into the market or are even in the market to require this from the list of their the interpreters or the translators to be quote unquote professionals. And by professional means that they should belong to an association whereby their accreditations or certifications are fully established before they can go out into the market and do work. And by that way, we protect the public, we give value to the industry as a whole. And I think that membership really brings a lot of weight, not only to the interpreters, not only to the translators, but also to the industry as a whole, to the agencies, being it government funded or privately owned. So I think that a requirement should be placed by all of the sectors in the industry, including the agencies who are in the market or are intending to come into the market.
Thank you so much, Sohela. And if I may add a couple of things here, because I am in a translation agency position, and 35 years ago I was a freelancer who moved into the corporate world. So and there are a couple of questions from Arturo here. What are the marketing strategies? And this is a little bit out of the professional associations. And I would have the small ad for CLIA, the Canadian Language Industry Association, is more for agencies, for what we call TSPs, translation service providers or interpreting service providers. So the first question is, what is marketing? Marketing is having the voice out about the value that you add for your client. Right. So what is, first and foremost, we need to know what is the value that we have and we can bring to the client. So in terms of the objectives for a translation agency, what is the problem that you're trying to solve for your client? And that is basically, you need to do that analysis and see, yes, I do have these skills. I have this particular, work that I can share with clients and that I can add value to them, and I can bring the quality I have all these kind of gift that I can bring to the market. So that is a separate, conversation altogether. And I will be more than happy to welcome you at one of the CLIA webinars. We have our CLIA event coming up in May, where we discuss about translation agencies rather than the translator, the individual translator. And there are, of course, a lot of business strategies that could be used to promote your services. As a freelancer, and I see that there are some hands up, one other thing that we have discussed over and over in many of the associations is, as a freelancer, you are the business owner of a small business. And you really have to look and do your own marketing, do your own sales, especially when you connect directly with a client. You have to be very careful about your contracts, your insurance, those business practices that are essential for you to work as a small. Now, if you want to expand as an agency, that's a different story and a different conversation. And there are absolutely professional development opportunities. I think you have heard here from these 10 associations and the many other associations. ATA, for example, is very active promoting, different workshops and conferences that you can go and attend to. So thank you, Sohela. I'm going to ask I have a bunch of questions from the chat, but I see some hands up. I'm going to be calling, and please mention who is the speaker that you would like the question to be answered. Carmelina, if you can unmute yourself.
Yeah, okay. My question was for Jay.
Okay.
MTA.
Yes, I'm going to.
Okay, I guess my question is, or my fear is like, how, if we're using these machines for the translations, how do we know that we won't be losing our jobs? Like that the translators won't be losing their jobs?
So that's a great question. And it's a question that translators really have to think about. So however, you're never going to lose a job to a computer. You're going to lose a job to a person who uses computers better than you do. Okay, so a computer doesn't care about whether it sells a translation to somebody or doesn't. But as you know, as all translators know, translation is a competitive marketplace. And if you can do something more efficiently, you can price more competitively. I always say to translators, don't think about your per word rate, think about an hourly rate or a daily rate, because the price per word for translation has been coming down, as everyone on this call knows, for a long time. And so the idea is to be as efficient as you can. Now, the day of worrying about contributing to these technologies so that they get better, that's coming to an end these days. So there's so much information on the internet, there's so much language that these systems can be trained on, that the contributions from a given translator is a teeny tiny amount in that universe of data. So I appreciate the question and I understand the concern behind it, but what my message is to people is that this is actually a really great time to be a person with language skills, because we're expanding the amount of services that a language professional can do. I don't want to take too much time here, but if I speak at the ATA almost every year about this, I do a 3-hour tutorial exactly on this topic. There are a lot of people out there who are really doing a lot of work on bringing translators along so that their skill sets increase and they're able to do more things with language for their customers.
Lola, if I may, just to add something to what Jay said, there are not enough translators in the world to handle the amount of information, of input that is going out there. So no, don't worry about it. There's more input coming in, and your work's gonna shift from here where you do this to here where you do something else using technology. It's just a shift. You're not gonna lose your job. Sorry,
and the
Jay.
language industry is growing not only, and there is statistics about it, not only in the amount of words that are growing, but also in the number of languages and the type of text. There is a huge growth and potential available for all of us. Thank you, Carmelina. We have a question from Helen. Helen, please unmute yourself. And who do you want to ask the question to?
Yes, probably Jay again. I sometimes use Google Translate, rarely, sometimes I do. And I would like to ask Jay what he would recommend instead of it, because as I've said, I had a big problem with it once. Years ago, I had a medical interpretation session at the Rehab Institute, and the poor nurse tried to translate on paper something for the client, instructions for the client, and she asked me if I could check and correct, and I looked at it, and it was such a disaster that I said, you know what, I do it once again, I'll just do it all over again, because I will have to correct every second word.
So I don't think this is really the place for me to jump in and recommend a particular technology. However, what I do want to say is that any information about machine translation that's more than 5 years old has to be just forgotten. Just forget any problem that you had with MT more than 5 years ago and go try it out again. Because actually a little more than 5 years, since 2017, the neural machine translation systems have been online and the fluency has increased radically, which can actually make the post-editing process more difficult because it's harder to find the mistakes. And so you're much more of a content editor than you are a post editor. So you're really going in to make sure that the content is correct. It's going to sound like your target language, depending on, there are, of course, as Gio just said, there are new languages there's that are being supported now. There's still a lot of work that has to be done in the world of machine translation. But if you're working in one of the world's top 25 to 30 languages, go back and check out any one of those big translators again, and you're going to be amazed at the difference that you see over something that you saw 5 years ago.
Thank
you.
And also, I would add to that, look very well at the product that you're using. Is this a service, you know, Google Translate free, available to anyone? What about the confidentiality of the text that you're using? How do you compare, you know, Google Translate with DeepL, for example, that actually segments the information and protects more the confidentiality? So look at all of that, right? And
Which one did you mention, Lola?
DeepL.com. But again,
sorry, can you put it? Can you put it on the chat?
And again, do you have the free version or do you have a paid version? How do you protect one of the big questions is how do you protect your client for the confidentiality piece, right? Is one of the points to consider, but there are many other things to consider. So I will ask Diego to unmute yourself. And who are you asking the question to? Diego Chavelas, are you there? Okay, okay, Diego?
Yes.
Who do you want to ask a question to? Okay, let's go with Laura. In the meantime that Diego checks his audio.
Yes, good morning. My name is Laura. Yes, I would like to know, I have a question for Jay. And the question is, when and where is the next Machine Translation Conference 2023? In the USA or anywhere else in the world?
So I can give you a lot of information there. So in the first week of June, the EAMT, the European Association, is having, I'm sorry, not the first week, the second week of June, is having its conference in Finland, in Turku, Finland. And then this fall, the AAMT, the Asian Association, is hosting the MT Summit, and it's in Macau, but it's going to be a hybrid conference, meaning you can do it online. Okay, and then as I indicated, AMTA will be doing a one-day mini conference, probably in late October or early November.
Thank you. Okay, let's try Diego.
Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. Diego, let's try it again.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Sorry about my connection.
Who do you want to ask the question to?
It's for any of the speakers.
Okay.
It's actually, my question is, what would you recommend to someone that is starting in this world of translating and interpreting? Because I just graduated from school, and yes, besides joining an association and besides embracing these new technologies, what else do you recommend to someone that is new for this job?
Perfect. Welcome to the profession, Diego. Who wants to answer that from the speakers? Just unmute yourself.
I can try.
Perfect. Go ahead.
Hi, Diego. The first advice I would give you is that you have to get coached. There is only one profession in the world that puts functioning graduates on the market the day they get their diploma. It's medicine, because of the long internship. Okay, so you have to get coached. Second advice I would give you: specialize yourself in one or two fields: legal, accounting, marketing, whatever. And the third one, join an association.
Perfect. Thank you, Donald. We're going to take one more question and then go to closing remarks for all the panelists. Depending on how we go with time, we can go to answer a few more questions. And we will have the networking and the rooms that you can continue to ask questions. So if we can have Carlos ask your question, please. And who do you want the question to be answering.
Yes, thank you. It was to the first panelist representing the Ontario area in Canada. And one of the pieces of information, I'm sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Are you
Yes.
referring to Sohela or Pensy? Those are two Ontario ones.
Maybe both, or actually anybody else that can have a relevant answer. And it was related to a piece of information of concerning piece of information of an exodus of professionals in our industry that are leaving the profession. I understood that they anticipate that about 50% of this workforce will leave the profession, and the association was working to find ways to mitigate this issue. We are in Michigan, very close to Ontario, and just in our agency, we are struggling to recruit, bring new partners to work with us for different languages, and the loss opportunity is very large, and it's a struggle that we're seeing increase every day, and we can't keep up with the amount of work and the lack of people willing to come into the profession. So I had a question related to that, and people with similar experiences. Anybody?
Okay, Sohela or Pensy? Do you want to comment about Carlos?
Certainly, I can come in and make a comment, and of course, Pensy should address that as well. This is a common issue that we also face in Ontario as well. I don't have an agency, but I know that a lot of interpreters do leave the profession, and the reason is that basically the basic reason is the pay. The rate has not changed for over, I don't know, 10, 20 years. I think we're getting on to 30 years. People are struggling to earn a decent amount of money from this profession to be able to conduct basically put bread on the table. And they leave and they go and do something else. So that's something that we also face here in Ontario. We are trying to convince people to then make sure the profession is at a level of professional weight, and this is difficult. However, I think, again, by encouraging people to stay together, and I always say, if the rate for interpretation and translation is a decent rate, people will stay. And then this will not only benefit the interpreters, but also will benefit the agencies or other sectors. So that is a common issue. We are struggling with that as well. However, I think we have made progress here by organizations such as OCCI, such as ATIO, such as APLI. And I think the collaboration between these large organizations and prominent agencies on the market has been some help to this, but nonetheless, it is still an ongoing issue. I leave it to Pensy as well.
Hi, thank you, Sohela. And yes, I would like to echo what Sohela says. To answer your question, Carlos, yes, we are also facing the same problems. And in Carlos, I used to live in Michigan for about 10, 15 years. And so I totally understand, especially Detroit, all that market there over how much it has changed. And then when it comes to the interpreters, translators, and you are struggling for people to find the right people. And then from ATIO's perspective, and then I will always say, I mean, I myself, I have an agency, and then when I use my interpreters, translators, I use the certified one, or at least accredited one with the federal government, or at least with the local provincial government, or, and then also, of course, ATIO certified translators and interpreters. And then I do believe that, getting certified, getting quality, providing the quality service definitely is one of the key issue. And then, but also, if you coming from the agency's perspective, and I would say, in order for you to find the right person to work on the assignments that you would like to give them, definitely, pay is an issue. And that is really, unfortunately, at least, here in Ontario, many interpreters, they left the profession because of the pay issues. And then also that doesn't really, it's not just the pay. I mean, we can talk about this, it will have so many different factors that actually have the impact on that. It may also, the interpreters haven't really updated their own information. And then I have also read the chats, the adapt, adopt, and then also evolve. Maybe some interpreters haven't really done that. And then so for that, it's really kind of, there is no certain right answer or one solution to resolve the issue. But I would say, really kind of you probably would have to come to Canada, go online. And then ATIO is also one of the 6 we have 7 sister associations. So from there, you can probably find all the professions from all these associations. And that's why all of us, we are here together here. And then probably that's going to be considered as a united one. I would say it's actually a huge database for us. And then it's hopefully I answered to your question, because it's really a big question.
Yeah, and we need to work in the retention of professionals in our sector. We need to work a lot in education of clients. We are going to have a closing remark by each of the panelists right now, like a very short 1-2 minute thing. But before that, and I apologize because there are quite a few questions that came in the chat, and I see hands raised, which is great. Like, we want to have that engagement in those questions. You will be able to ask some of those questions in the breakout rooms because of the timing. But I want to answer one that was directed to me. And in a private chat from Ruda, thank you so much, Ruda, for raising this. It says, training is an essential component of professionalism. How come ASSET, the Canadian Association of Scholars Translation, was not invited to participate in this panel? And I got a question like that from another association on LinkedIn. And this says, I apologize. I would have loved to have you here. It is a matter of the number of people that you can have on a panel. And I've been mentioning, we have 10, that there are many more that do an incredible amount of work. And what I can say right now is we have a panel coming up April the 10th. I am organizing the speakers right now, and that will be specific on the Code of Ethics. And I'm planning to have probably 6-7 panelists the most. So you are more than welcome to be part of that panel. And I will reach out to the other association as well, who was not able to make it to this panel, to see if they are interested in that particular topic of Code of Ethics. So thank you for raising that, Ruda, and I appreciate all the work that you have been doing. Thank you. So right now, and I kept Sohaila here because you were the first speaker, we are going to go in the same order. I'll ask the speaker if you can please do your closing remarks, 1-2 minutes or so, and then we will go to the networking piece. Thank you. Go ahead, Sohaila.
Thank you very much, Lola. I've been actually wanting to address this topic as well. There was a lot of concern about machine translation, and I can fully understand that. I think that for machine translation and also accredited and certified interpreters and translators, whoever is on this panel and in this meeting, we all know that translation should be done by a certified translator, interpretation should be done by accredited or certified interpreter. We are all aware of this. What we are really need to work more on it is to establish the organization who use the interpreters and translators to only accept interpretation or translation from certified or accredited individuals. I was personally in court one day, and we had a witness who was out in Mexico, and her statement was actually given to Google Translate, and it was accepted by the court, which totally shocked me. And I think that really represents this very important area where I hope that all organizations such as OCCI, ATIO, other associations and organizations should work towards, so that we all know where we are and what work we do and what value it has, but it is the other end users who need convincing that this job cannot be done by just Tom, Dick, and Harry on the street, and try to convince them that this is very, very important for the service that is offered to the public. And I hope that all of us who are in this business will work towards that goal. And I always say to any clients who comes to me, I always say, if you don't want to give your business to me, that's fine. Just make sure you give translation to a certified translator or hire an accredited or certified interpreter. That's my final word.
Thank you so much, Sohela. And I think I missed the order. Sorry, Gio.
I think you did, Lola. Sorry, I just jumped in because you said, Sohela, go on. And I
Absolutely. No, I was thinking that you were, but thank you so much. So, Gio, your final remarks. Thank you. Oh, you're muted, Gio. You're muted.
That's my trademark, guys. It was on purpose. For everyone who is interested in joining our profession, one advice I have is join an association, at least one. If you can't afford to join an association, there are many social media groups that can help you with learning, questions and things of that nature. But associations have already created a path for the profession. And it's in our hands to continue doing that. And we can do so by keeping them strong, by joining them. And join associations in languages that you speak. So in other countries, I'm a member of the Colegio Mexicano de Intérpretes de Conferencia. I'm a member of Abratis. I'm a member of ATA. I was a member of Najid. So I want to work, strengthen my Spanish. I want to strengthen my Portuguese. I joined those associations. It is a two-way street. You give, you get back. They have a responsibility. They are meeting that responsibility. You're joining them will strengthen them and help them defend our rights, which is one of their main services. Defend our rights with position papers, for example. So join associations. That's my number one recommendation.
Thank you so much, Gio. Thank you. Linda, your closing remarks.
Thank you. Lola has done something quite unique. She's brought together a panel of associations in the language services sector. We've seen there are many associations with different missions and different memberships, in some cases overlapping memberships. And we believe that in order to be, we know here, at least in Canada, that in order to be practicing interpreters or translators, you're not obliged to be a member of an association, and we don't need to even be certified. Donald's analogy about used car salesmen earlier is a forceful reminder of our true status, but that the fact that there are so many associations is telling of the useful and important role we play. We need to keep them strong. We need to keep them vibrant. We need to keep them relevant. We need to be in close touch with our respective memberships. We need to continue to advocate for the profession. And all of us here need to continue to network. It will benefit all those who are working in this sector. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Linda. And our next speaker is Jay.
So thank you, Lola, for the invitation to speak here. You've heard my voice enough, I think, already today. But what I do want to say is that translators have reacted to every major technological development since we stopped chiseling words into stones. Every single technological advance having to do with communication has had a bearing on the way translators work. We're in another phase right now that seems a little head spinning, but the value of a language professional will not diminish. There will not be less work for us to do. There will be more work for us to do but the work will change. And so remaining aggressive about learning new things, learning what tools really work for you will be very critical as you move forward in your career.
Thank you so much, Jay, for your contribution. Pansy, it's your time for your closing.
Well, I actually would like to, I can agree more to what Donald said earlier, to find a mentor, get a coach, to be coached, whether you're new or you are already an old fart. And I believe you still need to be coached. And then it is extremely important to find a mentor to work with you. I am still lucky. I'm lucky that I have one. And then of course, join the association. That's what I've been hearing from all the guests. And then of course, keep your passion. And when I say keep your passion, you really keep your passion in this profession and keep your passion in what you do. Don't give up. Why do I say that? I often say that from ATIO's perspective, because when one takes the exam and then if you failed like I did, you know what, don't give up and don't get discouraged, because it is actually kind of a slap in your face saying that, well, I've been doing this forever, how can I fail my exam? Oh yeah, I do, and I did. And so just don't feel that it don't grow hate against that. And so that's another thing. So by taking exam and from ATIO's perspective, taking a certification exam, and then I would say you actually get to learn about yourself and then ourselves, and then probably we need to work on some parts that we're not good at. And then also another one would be that actually I would like to say agree that what IEEGS, their current practice, the way how they take the interpreters and all that system with the mentoring system, and then I think that is extremely well. And Gio also mentioned that join an association is definitely important, and then continual development, it's definitely one of the key issues. And then so FIT has been having a lot of great seminars, and then I do believe that kind of all sums up what we need to do. And of course, Jay, today you are the spotlight, and then I think probably you need, very, very soon you probably need to run another seminar on machine translation, because today we've been talking quite a lot about that. So kind of to sum up, I would say all of us what I see here is we have the passion, and then we all want to be better and better. So we will work on it. And that's pretty much what I would say from my perspective. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Pansy. Michelle.
Hi, yes. So just thinking again, as everybody is mentioning and echoing the sentiment that really belonging to associations is a great way to improve your professionalism, improve your connections. When policymakers are looking to make changes, and when it comes to language access, when it comes to working conditions, when it comes to, like I mentioned, some of the policies in our state and now in other states related to the gig economy and being a contractor status versus an employee. These are things that as an association we have to look at, and we are approached by policymakers, we're approached by journalists, we're approached by other associations and organizations, we're approached by employers. So when you are a part of that collective, it's our responsibility to help look, I believe, at the things that are happening with our members and in the community, and to be representative of that, and to speak up faithfully and accurately about what we see happening. And that is, I believe, many of the associations that are here, this is what we do. So you as an individual may not feel sometimes that you have a voice, but when you join an association, that is your bigger voice. And just to say that if you go to the CHIA website, you'll see that we have the conference programs listed from probably the past 10 to 12 conferences. And you can see the different topics. And one of the things that we comment on as a board is how the topics shift. And just to say that, 10, 15 years ago, we were seeing a lot of introductory stuff, a lot of, standards and ethics and how to get into the profession, and a lot of basics about, positioning or how to stand, little tips and tricks. Gradually, the topics have become more advanced. They've become more focused. They've become more specialized. So now we're getting a lot of terminology, let's say, about certain areas of practice, and a lot of presentations about video remote interpreting, about remote technologies, about how to adapt to telehealth and doing things. So, and I guarantee that the upcoming webinars and the upcoming conference topics are going to have a lot to do with the AI and any of the tech that's coming up. So by joining, whether you're involved in education, whether you're involved in the association, and I would also suggest try to volunteer, try to become part of leadership. We all need people. I can pretty much guarantee that everyone that's on a board of these associations is begging for people to join and be a part of leadership and be active. We always need more help. We always need more people, more ideas, more people that are willing to step forward and take a part in various activities. So find something that you're passionate about, join, become a volunteer just to start out with, become a leader at some point if that suits you. And every structure is different, but find out what works for you and jump in. I used to be on leadership with IMIA. Now I'm on leadership with CHIA. I used to be part of Michigan Translators and Interpreters Network. So there's always opportunities, and you will find what fits with you, and you may be part of more than one organization simultaneously, and that's okay. And that's a great way to network as well. So just to say, do stay involved, and by participating today, this is one great step forward. So give yourself a pat on the back. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Jill, 100%. Alan.
Thank you. I'd like to say that in the final section where we can have more individual discussions, I'd like to talk about the role of context as a full context as opposed to co-text, but that's my personal thing. So as representing FIT, I'd like to welcome all the associations that are participating here today to contribute to FIT if you're already a member, and if you're not, to consider becoming a member of the Federation. We can do a lot of things together better than we can do individually. Welcome you to that. And I'd also like to mention something that hasn't been brought up yet, something that happened at our annual meeting in Mexico City just last week. This week. It's the Decade of Indigenous Languages. And FIT North America, which consists of Canada, Mexico, and that little country in between, would like to work together. We'd like to work together to provide training for Indigenous language interpreters. This was a motion at the meeting and voted on, saying, hey, let's get started on this. And I can see already from some of the presentations that we need to work together on this. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Alan, for bringing that very important point. And Eric.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Lola, for convening beautiful, absolutely enlightening panel today. So I'm very pleased that I am a part of the panel. So now here is my message. Number one, not only become a member of association, not a dormant member, start working immediately. So within the IMIM, we have a unique structure. At the state level, you can immediately get started with submitting, advancing, delivering message of the association at the state level. Get involved and we will help you. We will deliver all the tools for your toolbox to make sure that the association has substantial presence in your state. So the second point is professionalization. Professionalization of interpreting, including medical interpreting. Take a very thorough look at what we require today. Is it enough if we require today at the level of a general education high school diploma? Can we really seriously expect for our interpreters to be professional members of our endeavor if you have a high school diploma? Is it enough or not? For instance, our friends in different associations have it at the bachelor's degree level. The second point, proficiency in 2 languages, not just proficiency in your native language, proficiency in a second language, a proficiency at the level that is appropriate to today's environment. Summarizing everything, let's start considering maybe revisiting some of the approaches that we had in the past, because we're all concerned about the achievement of our profession. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Eric, for all that work that you do at the IMIA. And Janice.
I think I'm going to echo what everybody has said. I think we're all on the same page. On the one hand, yes, associations are going to give you strength in numbers. So by all means, join an association. And there's also been some mention about educating our service consumers. But I think that before we do that, or together with that, we need to raise the level of training and education that interpreters are getting. And I'm going to address interpreters because we've talked a lot about translators. So about interpreters, and very specifically in the legal domain, which is my specialty, I feel that we're still, there's been an increase in the quality of the workshops, webinars, and all of that, but we need to go beyond the basic skills of consecutive simultaneous side translation, or improving your memory, or note-taking. We need to dig deeper into what is our actual basic instrument, which is language. And you need to know how language works and how you process language, what your brain goes through, how do you get from one language to the other. And then when you have that, then you will be very, very sure when you approach the consumer, the client, whatever, about the importance of the value that you bring into whatever they're doing. And then you can maybe talk about, hey, you know, we're protecting the public from risk, or from, you know, whatever. But we also have to be very realistic about the biases that exist. We cannot ignore that. When we work with linguistic minorities, there's going to be a bias from the linguistic majorities. So we have to find a way to make it reach their interest. So that's why I mentioned, when you address judges, address them in the terms of due process. Your interest is due process, that's what I can help you do. If your interest is getting to the truth of the matter because, you know, you're the prosecutor, address that. Not, I need to get paid more, I need better working conditions, I need this, and that should be a given that you're going to demand once you know that your status, the actual knowledge that you bring to that environment is so solid that you can say, oh, wait a minute, you know, if I have to work more than 2 hours, I need somebody else here with me, or more than 1 hour, or whatever. I need proper equipment. I need this, I need that. Not please, could I please have it? No, you demand it, because that's your standard operating procedure for every job that you do. So everything goes together. Educate yourself, build up your expertise, and then educate the client.
Wonderful topics. Thank you so much, Janice. Thank you. And last but not least, so wrap us up, Donald.
Well, I'll let a former Prime Minister of France wrap this up for me, and I'll share my screen for that, to allow people to read along as I read this quote. Our administrations have a great interest in using translation, which serves our country doubly. It contributes to the promotion of our knowledge, expertise, and culture around the world, and conversely, it facilitates the work of monitoring and observation in strategic areas, technology, security, defense, etc. While automatic or computer-assisted translation can satisfy urgent or massive translation needs, I remind you that only the use of professional translators can accurately reproduce the normative scope or cultural impregnation of a text. And it gives me goosebumps every time I read it. Thank you so much, Lola. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you so much, Donald. this has been beyond wonderful. It's incredible, right? The work that that each of these, panelists have been doing, not in the last 2 hours and a half. I appreciate very much that you're here the 2 hours and a half. And I appreciate even more the thousands and thousands of hours that you have devoted to improve this sector, to improve the profession, to support education, to support quality. We hear that those topics over and over and over again, like how can we raise the standard? How can we add our value? What Janice was saying, have your value first, and then all the other things will come as secondary. So we are running a bit behind, because it's already 12:23. So I'm going to open the breakout rooms. I want to respect the time of our speakers. The commitment was to stay here until 12:30, and I believe some of them already have other commitments. So as I open the breakout rooms, if they are able to stay a little bit more to answer questions in their rooms, that's fabulous. If not, we do have the networking rooms as well. So as I open the breakouts, and I am able to stay with you until it's needed, I'm going to stay in this main room answering questions if you have any questions that you have. So as you see the rooms, you can move from room to room. Just right click on the room that you're interested. You will see the names of the associations. Let's say if you want to go to AIC or you go to APLI, you click join, and you can move from one room to the other. Now, if for any reason the leader of that organization is not here anymore, you can always go. There are 3 social lounges that you can go for networking, and there are private rooms for one-on-one conversations. So feel free to go on. It's you can do it yourself. And if you need help, I am here to support, and I can move you into a room if you don't know how to do that.
Hi, Lola. I want to go to the Pansies room, the ATIO, and I don't know how I can enter the room.
Okay.
So could you help me for the ATIO, the Pansy?
Absolutely, I'll send you there. And in the meantime, I'll move you there, Riva. You just have to click at the bottom of your Zoom where you have all your options, participants, reactions. You have an option that says breakout room. When you click there, you will see a screen with the list of all the rooms. And then you can move from one room to the other, and you can see who is in the room if you want to talk. If you see that there are too many people in the room, you may want to start in another room, and so on.
I could not find the breakup rooms here.
I'll send you to that. No worries. I'm going to.
Yeah.
I got kicked out of my room.
Okay.
I did too.
Yeah, I got kicked out of my room too.
Me too.
I guess we're all kicked out of the rooms.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Here they are. You should be able to go there. I see people.
Actually, Lola, my question is to all of the association leaders and their shareholders, because, but I don't know I'm allowed to speak or not at that platform. I belong to Ontario, so could I start to speak?
And also you need to have the latest version of Zoom in order to join breakouts. That's one of the messages that I sent. So let me, Riva, you said that you wanted to talk to ATIO. Assign to ATIO. You should send, and when I assign you, you will see an invite, and you just have to click accept.
Okay, so I should join. There is a join breakout room.
Yeah.
And okay, so I join. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, you just click join and you are there. You will receive the invite to go into the room. Janet, do you have a question? Do you need help? Carmelina, do you have a question? Do you need help?
Yeah, I can't find the breakout rooms either. There's nothing on the bottom of my screen. Even when I click on mass, everything's in Spanish. It says the last on the right.
Okay, and which room do you want to go to?
I did want to go to ATIO.
Okay,
I have some complaints they need to hear.
I'm just sending you there. I just forward you to.
Thank you. And where can I find all the other breakout rooms?
Well, when you are in the room, like you click the breakout room option at the bottom of your Zoom,
It's not there. That's why I'm saying there is no breakout room option.
Oh, you don't have, that means you don't have the latest Zoom version, but so you can come back, you can go to the ATIO that I just invite you, and then you can come back here and I will be sending you to another room.
But I did download Zoom like about a couple of months ago, so it should be again, I downloaded it, so it should be the latest.
Yeah, so you should be able to.
Yeah, but I can't.